I'm Bryan Sitch from the Manchester Museum, and I'm here in Whitworth Park with Professor Siân Jones and Dr. Melanie Giles from the Archaeology Department of the University of Manchester. Siân, can you tell me what's going on here? Your team looks incredibly busy.
Yes, well, our whole project focuses on the history and archaeology of Whitworth Park. And here we are actually in the process of excavating the boating lake, which was originally constructed in the park in the 1890s. We did excavate here in 2011, so we're returning to look in more detail at the history of this lake, which was turned into a paddling pool in 1927. So we're hoping this year to find lots of nice objects that were perhaps dropped by children playing alongside the edge of the lake. Particularly when we break up the concrete surface of the paddling pool, we're hoping for those kind of objects underneath.
So did you already know that the lake was here, and how did you know that?
We did. We've got lots of obviously archival sort of records. We have things like park committee minutes, we have newspaper reports, we've also got photographs and particularly postcard images of the park to work from. So we have a sense of where these historic features in the park were, but the fascinating thing with the archaeology is that we can actually gain access to the hidden lives of people in these parks, the things that are not recorded in these written sources, what people did in the park on a daily basis, what kinds of objects the children played with, what kinds of things people wore. We find things like badges and buttons. And these give us access to sort of people's intimate lives, really, on a daily basis in the park.
Great. Melanie, I think you've done more of the work on the actual finds processing, is that right? What kind of things strike you as being very memorable about the work that's been done today?
I suppose some of the most intimate objects are the children's toys. So we know this is a time when we're dealing with a lot of poor working and living conditions for children in Manchester, but it's also an area where people are starting to kind of invent the notion of childhood, and they're making toys like little 5 stones made of beautiful glazed enamel for them to play with. We've found some of those dropped in the park, lost from children's games. We're also finding more recent children's toys or objects that they've dropped and lost, and that really helps our school groups connect with what children in the past were doing and what they do in the park. And one of the overall aims of the project is to get children from places like the Manchester Academy just behind us to care a little bit more about their park. These are vital green urban spaces, as they were in the Industrial Revolution. These are places for them to walk, to be seen, to take leisure and pleasure, and they are still absolutely vital for those children. They come out to the sun minutes in the park and enjoy themselves here. So part of the aim of the project is to help increase the resources for the park, play facilities, as well as the knowledge of the heritage on their doorstep, so they care more about that local community and get involved in it.
Fantastic. I think the idea is that some of the finds at least will be on display in the project exhibition, which will be held at the Manchester Museum between May and October 2014 next year.
Yes, we want people to see sometimes what they helped find. We've got school groups coming out and digging with us next week, and the Young Archaeologists Club, which is based in the Manchester Museum as well. These children help discover new knowledge about the past, and we want them to be able to see it in the museum, so they know that they are part of the creation of history and new knowledge about Manchester's past. And we've got a large open day on Saturday with lots of other kinds of archaeological events. You can come and see the dig, you can come and have a look over the postcards and some of the archival records, and get hands on. It doesn't matter how young you are, we've got activities for toddlers as well as teenagers. So we're hoping through that we'll reach a much wider audience and encourage people to come on our daily site tours, and we've got hourly site tours on the Saturday open day as well.
And are you encouraging old visitors to come as well, so that they can perhaps share their memories of being in the park in previous years?
Some people are really new to the area and might have just been here for a matter of weeks, but they have memories of the park and knowledge of what it's used for at the moment. But we're particularly interested in hearing from people who've got longer histories, memories that stretch back perhaps to the Second World War. Some of the people we've talked to. The park's undergone huge changes over that period. It's gone through a rather unloved period when there weren't a lot of, there wasn't a lot of injection of money into the park. its fortunes are now changing thanks to the Friends Group. And we want to hear about all of those memories, all of those stories, particularly perhaps about things that people remember being in the park that have now disappeared. And that will help us think of new things to excavate over the following years.
And we'd like people to come and tell us some stories, even on Saturday, if they've got sort of memories of the park. We'll be doing short sort of recordings of stories people might be able to tell us about the park and their use of the park in the past. It doesn't have to be sort of big significant events. We're interested in, you know, the importance of the place for them in their lives. So you know, we want to encourage people to tell us whatever they think is significant about the place.
One lady coming next week remembers climbing certain trees, so we're really interested in, you know, which trees were here, what picnics she had with her family. And if people are watching this kind of after the project ends, so we're digging for the first 2 weeks of July, we'd still like to hear from you. We still want to hear your stories, and those stories again hopefully will feature in the exhibition. So if you've got other information, then please let us know. We'd love to hear from you.